Speaking with the issues with Joe, right? Did I get it correct that you was on G Unit, so you was just riding with 50, and Joe came out and he was on Smack and he said your name, and then Sub-Zero and told you SMD? Is that like where the issue started?
Okay, you put it together kind of chronologically with the events. I can't quite place each moment as far as what took place first at this point. It's a blur, it's a fog. It's been so long.
Right.
But I can vaguely remember, I can vividly remember all the interactions. Because to me, I'm a kid of hip hop. So Fat Joe, outside of my personal interaction to the game, I'm aware of him like everybody else. He's Fat Joe. So I can vividly recall my personal interactions with him. However, I can't quite recall how chronological they were in nature. But of course, my only beef with Fat Joe at that time was inherited based on my affiliation with G Unit. So I know that I didn't take it upon myself as a humble soldier at the time to speak on Fat Joe until he spoke on me. So I took it as a green light to speak on him and a badge of honor hip hop wise, when he was going on these anti-G Unit rants and he would just casually include me. Just think, I'm just a regular dude. This is my first rap deal. And here it is, Fat Joe is just including me in this conversation in a big hip hop situation, candidly. As much as I have to respond to defend my honor and all that, I also take it as a badge of honor. It's a fuck. Look, I'm in the middle of this shit. These are the magazines I've been reading. I'm in the middle of it. Nobody made Fat Joe include me in those rants. So whatever Fat Joe meant to hip hop as a icon, a figure, his image, I had now willed that into my life without going out saying, hey, Fat Joe, fuck you. Right. He spoke on me first. So based on there you go.
So prior to G Unit, did you ever have any interactions with him, like by chance or anything?
None whatsoever. I just had a general appreciation for him as being a part of hip hop, like I would have for anyone that did anything successful and never had anything negative to say toward anything that I loved or revered. He was just a part of the overall landscape of hip hop, and he was cool.
So you was a fan. You was a fan of Terror Squad and everything prior to him.
Not in particular, but I can assure you, my awareness of Fat Joe included some appreciation for what he gave to the game.
So it was respect. It was respect.
Respect, indeed. Mm-hmm. There was nothing negative, but I'm a fan of very little. But so I would never say I was a fan, but I can't say I was a fan of moments of his because I am extremely aware of his presence and have no moments I can say I disliked. It wasn't like I was a Fat Joe whack. It was never that. So I knew he used to pop up in elements of hip hop where I appreciated it, but I can't pinpoint him or anything. I was never a fan.
Right, because I think that there's this narrative that you're a hater on him when he was the one that mentioned your name first.
Indeed, correctly. And when I was extremely more interested in what he had to say about myself and G Unit in particular, and I was out being quite present in the Hollywood entertainment element of Los Angeles and all that, I had a very personal interest in bumping into Fat Joe that I would have fulfilled had it not been for a personal acquaintance of mine by the name of Inglewood Muggs that was also a personal acquaintance of Fat Joe, Fat Ho. And Muggs had a very personal interest in that I would not exact my actual intentions upon Fat Joe at that time. And I'm extremely grateful as a more mature man at this point in my life that there was an Inglewood Muggs to be a buffer in between my ignorance and my intentions at that time, and to cause me to give a Fat Joe a much needed pass on his behalf out here in the West Coast that he would not have had outside of Muggs having a request. Shout out to Inglewood Muggs. Anyone who want to research what I'm saying, being factual. Muggs is a very, without trying to be popular or public, he's a very influential personality in the streets and the West Coast hip hop rap street / game. Very successful, influential individual. And we share the same birthday of January 19th. So amongst other things, we've always appreciated a certain brotherly bond throughout the years that it's almost been 20 years. Rest in peace, my boy Face from Elm Street.
Right. So because Joe created like relationships on the West Coast with like Mac 10 and Muggs, like you said, when he came out and he filmed that movie Thicker Than Water.
Thicker Than Water, indeed. Muggs was heavily involved in that. Muggs has a relationship with Mac 10 as well. That would kind of like explain the whole Fat Joe. I think they all three have a trinity of a relationship. Shout out to Mac 10 too.
So what is your reaction, your immediate reaction when you seeing Joe on Smack and on Sub Zero and he's saying the things naming you at the time?
Uh, my first thought and reaction is kind of similar to this. Hold on one moment, if you don't mind.
To, poke my nose in, man. And the other people who Fat Joe was talking about, other YouTubers from old G Unit and old Terror Squad, I don't know who that is, but I hope he ain't talking about that gangster nigga out in the West, because that's going to be a problem if he is. You feel me? Don't say no names. Don't say no names. All right, no doubt, no doubt. Gangster nigga out in the West. Gangster nigga out in the West, because that's going to be a problem if he is. You feel me? You feel me?
I would rather allow Star, shout out to the Star Report, the legendary Star from the Star and Brim show, from what I could first recall from my experience. I let him speak on that for me. You feel me? Like, I just be wondering, like, why would he take the time to be that specific about me and then be that abstract at the same time if I'm a nobody that didn't matter?
Right.
Like I say, I appreciate what some would consider the alley-oop of him speaking on me, which allowed me to be comfortable, to be candid, to be speaking on him as well. But the thing about me is I'm just committed to be factual when I discuss an individual or incident or anything of that nature. I'm committed to being factual. And a lot of times the facts don't paint the opposite individual in the light that they would desire to be viewed in, and that causes a conflict. That's why we push facts over feelings, because sometimes the facts that we express cause people to have a collision with their feelings, and that causes confusion. You digitalize, Panda? Making sense?
I dig a lies, man.